one artist's rendition of the passage that you read. I put it on Facebook this week. I don't know if anybody noticed that. Well, so last week, of course, we're in the season of Lent, and you see all of our purple and so forth in the church calendar. Last week, we talked about our personal selves, being better people. We want to be better people. We want to be more Christ-like. And I passed out this self-assessment inventory, and I asked that you would please take it home and spend some time with God in it, and look at our lives so that we might be better representations of the Jesus we say we follow. And so I have, if you weren't here, I have some extras in the back. I also sent it via email, so some of you may have noticed it and printed it out on email. Look at Miss Phyllis printing out from the computer. You're awesome. So I do have some extras back there, all right? And I told you last week, I said we're going to talk about personal selves today. Next week we're going to talk about the bigger picture and the communal stuff, right? So today we're going to take a look at what has been called communal sin, corporate sin, also called collective sin. These are the sins of the community. These are the sins of nations, the sins of economies, the sins of governments. Locating where those are in communities, in economies, in governments, in politics, and recognizing that there are broken systems. There are a lot of broken systems in our world. A lot of broken systems. A lot of broken institutions in our world. In our story today, some people don't like this story very much. We see enacted anger towards a broken system. What Jesus was acting out against was a broken system, the temple system. Now, Jesus was a Jew. He was a good Jew. He believed in Judaism, but he believed that the system had taken things in a different way. And it was breaking people instead of uplifting people. It's a broken system. This is one story that we see. We say, oh, I don't like that story. I like the story much better when Jesus is picking up the kids and touching the kids. God, he's loving everybody. Well, this is a different kind of story, is it not? See, Jesus lived in a world with broken systems. He was aware of what was going on. He saw it. He lived it. He was broke. He came from a poor community and a poor family, and he understood that systems break people, harm people, oppress people, and it greatly disturbed him. And he took action. By his words and his deeds in this story, he didn't just offer thoughts and prayers. And I feel my heart beating out of my chest right now with passion. He didn't just offer thoughts and prayers. He acted. He said something. He did something. That's how Jesus was. His faith impacted his life. How he viewed the world, how he responded to the world that he saw, the world in which he lived. And sometimes that faith led him to say some harsh things and to say some harsh, and to take some harsh actions, like our story today. As followers of Jesus, isn't it true? If my faith is only to make me feel better and to build me up, and it doesn't affect the way I view the world and interact in the world, then guess what? It's not the faith of Jesus. The faith of Jesus lived in a real world in real time, and there were broken systems all around Jesus, and Jesus confronted those systems. The system that took lepers and cast them out of the city. He went up and touched them. I mean, this is radical stuff in the Gospels. The way Jesus looked at broken systems and tried to change them and spoke up against them. One author that I like to read says, As Christian social justice advocate Jim Wallace says, you can't just keep pulling people's bodies out of the river without sending somebody upstream to see what or who is throwing them in. See, broken systems just keep fishing people out of the river, maybe. If you got enough money, or if you're the right color, or the right gender. Stay with me. Buckle up. Jim Wallace is saying, you got to get down the river, get up the river and find out why all these bodies are getting in there. And do something about it. This story that you read with one another this morning is found in all 4 Gospels. It's one of the very few stories that you find in all 4 Gospels. It's interesting that in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, it is at the very end of his ministry that this story is told. In John's Gospel, it's at the very beginning of the story. There are a lot of reasons for that, but one thing we do know, wherever the story falls, it was because of this action and many others like it that people said, we have got to shut this guy up. We have got to take him out. The gatekeepers and the leaders were trying to deal with him because he was messing with broken systems that they were benefiting from. Jesus knew what was going to happen when he started speaking truth to power. He knew it, but he was willing to take whatever risk was necessary to follow his passion for God's way, as many others have done throughout history, thankfully. Which is why I, as a female, have a right to vote. Because some people spoke up and said, hey, women have rights too, including the right to vote, and many, many other rights, which I can't go down that road right now. John Wycliffe, Martin Luther, the first Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Oscar Romero, Cesar Chavez, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. All of these spoke truth to power, and they were killed for it, including Jesus. Others may not have found themselves dead because of their actions or their words, but they faced all sorts of difficulties. We can think of many along those lines. Mandela, Gandhi. Because of the words and actions like this, Jesus found himself hanging on a cross. We have some heroes today who are speaking truth to power. Think of the Tennessee legislature. Some young black men who got kicked out of it if they spoke truth to power. Greta Thunberg, this young woman who speaks about climate justice, who is blasted and ridiculed and name-called because she's trying to help people save our planet. I think if Jesus were around today, he'd be standing next to Greta saying, come on now, tell it. They're labeled troublemakers, persecuted for what they do. Remember old John Lewis? He said, I need to make good trouble. There is such a thing as good trouble. I got a couple of more quotes. Don Helder Camara, a Christian social justice maker in Brazil, said, when I give food to the poor, they call me a saint. When I ask why the poor have no food, they call me a communist. I gotta keep moving. John Dominic Crossan, a scholar of our time, has said it well. He said, those who live by compassion are often canonized. Those who live by justice are often crucified. Sure, everybody's for feeding the hungry, but when it comes to changing the systems that keep people hungry, now you're going to bed. Hope I have a job tomorrow. Sure, everybody wants people housed, but when it comes to the systems that keep people homeless and on the streets, nope, can't change that policy. rights. But when it comes to making sure that everyone has voting rights, there's a lot of trouble getting it passed and moved forward. Man, I could just go on and on all day, but being a follower of Jesus can lead people to civil disobedience. Did you read the story today? It can lead people to protest, to speaking out, to speaking up, to speaking truth to power, to speaking love to power, to working for change as acts of allegiance to the love of God and the love of others. That's what we're here to do, love God and love others. I'm pretty sure that God hates broken systems that keep people in danger and harm, hungry, unhoused, and so on. As people of God, we should too. There used to be a bumper sticker years ago. It says, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. One author has said, holding in mind the story that you all just read, about Jesus' aggression against the temple and the broken system in this story, the author says, look at our world today. You don't have to look very far. Listen to the radio, read the newspaper, look at your social media feed. But friends, how is God calling us to harness the power of anger into works of love? How is God calling us to harness the power of anger? Because golly, I get so mad about this stuff. But how is God calling me to channel that into good trouble, into works of love? How might God be calling you today to go beyond thoughts and prayers? Even beyond works of charity, donations and check writing. To seek ways that can actually bring change and impact change. To let your faith speak up, speak out, to advocate for justice. Talking about it and singing about it all morning. God's shalom for all. That everybody has access to good health care, good education, a full tummy, a living wage. That everybody can live without fear of gun violence in their churches and schools, movie theaters. Jesus' actions illustrate what one of you read, Janet. Amos's words. Let justice roll down like rivers. And our world of broken systems needs justice rolling down like rivers. Our world needs people who are willing to stand up and say, wait a minute. I can't lay my head on the pillow every night knowing that there are kids in my community who can't eat because their parents can't afford to feed them. And I'm going to go and feed those kids some kind of way. But I'm also going to go and make sure that tomorrow, the next day, next year, somehow that mom is going to be able to afford to feed her kids. It's the old figuring out why folks are in the river. I'm changing it. Are we willing to take some risks to speak truth to power? To facilitate change, to be a catalyst for change, to make our voices heard, to spread the good news of God's love and shalom for all. That's what this Lent is calling us to today. Last week it was taking care of our own selves. Now it's about taking care of each other. This is what we are called to, friends. It's a high and tall and mighty order. You're going to follow Jesus in to speaking against broken systems. glad you were here today. There's a sign-up sheet for you on that table. There's a sign-up sheet for you. Find one to sign up on. Don't forget to greet our visitors. It's wonderful to have you today. Let's go out and be the light. Amen.